All right, welcome everyone to the week of February 20 through the 26th. It's been a bit of a crazy couple weeks here with Russia invading Ukraine, and it's caused very dramatic movement in the market. Bitcoin and pretty much gold specifically, but a little bit of Bitcoin too. I think there might be some correlation with the invasion and the price of this going down. We're going to start with Bitcoin too. And there's also possibly going to be a news release from Biden this week stating regulatory things are coming into the crypto space from the government. And I think that is going to create another strong push down. But before that happens, I would love to see it come up first, because that would give us two different opportunities. The first opportunity would be a buy, obviously, and then follow that by a sell. So we're going to look at the overall movement here. Last week we had, or I guess actually, yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. It was like Friday. We had an entry up here on the spike. Price came down. Price pushed up and made a really nice wick to the area that we expected. Got another entry. And from then on, price has just been dropping, and we've closed out most of it. And now we're looking for the next phase in the market. So what I'm expecting is price to pull back up and make a wick on the weekly, somewhere up in this area here. So let's dive in and get a little bit more specific. Oh, I already had it marked. All right, let me zoom out here. I'm actually going to delete that too. That's mainly for the 4-hour. So here's a little bit better view of that pullback where we got the second entry on, and then the absolute dump. And right here is when I was first expecting the pullback to happen. But as you can see, today's candle just ripped down and we got stopped out. However, I still think that pullback is inevitable. I'm expecting something similar to this. So as you can see, if we caught the bottom of this move and pulled back, that is 458 pips. Okay, I'm expecting something similar here. So let me go to the 4-hour. Right, so this is why I had this area drawn, because what I see in this area of wicks is a lot of orders. And what I really like about what price is doing right now is that it's stalling above that area, because I don't want to see price come in here and hang out in here. I want to see price doing exactly what it's doing right now, which is stalling above it. And then when it comes in here, it'll drop and then snap back up. And that's how we know that it is truly just grabbing orders, and it's not just, slowly leaking down more. Because the fact that it's stalling right here, it might actually get people to buy in right now. And they're going to put their stop loss down here. However, we know that all the orders are happening in this area. So we're going to wait for price to come into this area. And as long as it snaps up and there's a lot of buy volume coming in, so I'll actually flick on the volume while it's in here and literally just watch and see and make sure that there's a ton of buy volume coming in. But we're going to take that buy. What I'm looking at is this level right here, this wick on the 4-hour. It's kind of like a retest of this level as well. And if I throw the fib on, I'm going to pull it down to where we'd be entering from, because that would be technically the bottom. It lines up with the fib very, very well. Obviously, we have this higher part too at 43,000, which would be fine, because if we enter a buy and it pulls up here and then maybe it snaps, maybe it snaps into this level, kind of like what we're expecting down here. But on the flip side, that would just be better for our buys. So with that being said, I do think that it's probably going to turn here, especially if Russia and Ukraine continue and or gets worse. I believe that might be bad for Bitcoin, and we might just see that pullback here, which is a pretty decent amount, especially if we hit like 37,000. I mean, again, that's 560-ish pips. That's a really good trade. So, and it's a pretty good size movement. So that's similar to what I'm expecting. Let's take a look right here, though. Something I just want to note out is you can see how price dumped right here and it stalled and it started kind of looking a little bullish. There's probably a lot of people that decided, hey, it's probably going to pull back. It just dumped. Let's enter a buy here. And what you can see is price dumped down even further. Let's calculate from this low to this low right here. So it went 280 pips lower before it actually pulled back. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is happening here. So price was in this area, and a lot of people started thinking it was going to buy, including myself. I actually entered a buy at 38, or sorry, 39, like 200. I entered a buy right here. I'll show you that in the lower time frame. But 220 pips from that low right there. So the same kind of flow of how it dumped, it stalled, and then it actually made its continuation in the true bottom, and then it pulled back. There is a chance that we're going to get a similar sort of flow with the structure here. So it all depends on what happens in here. I am personally still holding a sell from 46,600, a very small portion of the what I originally entered, just because I mean we're literally up 800 pips on this trade, so I mean it would be kind of dumb not to close some. So let me show you that. Honestly, I just got smoked out immediately. I think I was on the 5-minute actually. Okay. Let me show you all why. So way over here when it exploded, we had this little chop, right? Marked that low. And as you can see how price dumped and it made this low, spike up, another spike up, and then it was another one right here, explosion, and then push down. So in my eyes, what I'm seeing is lots of buy orders come in and lots of people being fed into buying right now. Like there's multiple points where it looked like a buy. And I had this level marks. And so what I was thinking is, okay, if it's really going to go, it's probably actually going to spike down and then shoot up, because that would stop everyone who entered out already. And I believe it was, maybe it was 380, not 280. I think it was right here. It had to have been right here. It came into 39.3, stalled, started pushing up right here, because at one point this was a big bullish candle. And when I was expecting is like a 30-minute or a 1-hour wick. And yeah, that just didn't happen. I entered and I went to bed, and then it drained. But I believe that buy is still very, very valid in this area. So I'm definitely, I got an alert right here. I'm actually going to move it to right here so I know when it's approaching the zone. Same concept right here. We were a little early, which is unfortunate because that's a slight loss, but that's why we held some of that sell still, and I actually closed more position of that sell after that loss, which pretty much made up for it completely. So wicks 1, 2, 3. This to me, let me check the volume. Right, see how it's kind of slow down, low volume. I want to see it start spiking up once it gets down here. But just as an example, you see, like, where did we originally enter? Was that the spike? Yeah, that was the spike. You see these huge volumes? That's what I'm looking for. Not as like a signal to enter, but I'm just like curious and I want to see what type of volume is in here. So let me zoom back out and simplify that. Basically what we're going to be looking for is the buy down here. Target is going to be TP1 at 41,000 and TP2 at 42,000. And at 42K, I'm closing everything. So even if it spikes up, I mean, maybe hold like 10% or something, but probably not. I genuinely don't think it's going to go this high. But I very, very clearly could see it coming. Like, here, I'm going to write this. Two. See, even something like this. Not exactly, but something similar. I think this maybe was the first spike, push down here. You know, I'm not trying to make it exact or anything like that, but you can kind of understand. Honestly, if I started it from here, it'd probably be better. I'm just gonna simplify it. You see, that's what I'm looking for. I thought it was gonna happen like up here, but no, I think now, obviously it's proven itself. It's gonna happen down here. So maybe even spike this low out. I mean, that would be perfect. If price comes right under here to 37,280 and then starts exploding, I'm definitely gonna be taking an entry. So eyes on that, alert is set. So we'll see what happens with that, but I hope you all can kind of understand what's going on here. This push down this is 900 to 1200 pips. And if Ukraine continues or Russia continues and Biden comes out saying stuff about regulating crypto, I almost guarantee you it's going to hit this low right here. So if we do get that sell entry, definitely taking the full risk on at the first entry and holding it to at least this low. All of it to this low. No partials. That's Bitcoin. I hope that was pretty clear and easy to understand. Romero, Osvaldo, Maurice, Sean, any questions on Bitcoin? I've been updating the chat pretty much every day with Bitcoin, so this isn't really anything new for anyone here, unless you haven't been looking. So let's go over to gold. Gold has been on a rampage, to say the least. Massive explosions here. I thought this sell at 1850 was big. Man, this buy was massive, and it's still playing out right now. I would personally love to see price come to 1870 at least. Okay, just to come down here a little bit. Similar to this, how it pushed up and then it pulled back a little bit and continued. That's what I want to see here, at least to 1860, 70. I'm just going to go to 30 minutes and break down what I'm seeing here. So push up, push down, we chop up again. You see this candle, this huge wick? Some people sold here. Okay, then we slowly climb back up. Wicks, 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 wicks. We actually create, a respected high right here. Pushes down, snaps above it ever so slightly, and completely drops. Breaks all these lows. price pulls up a little bit, stops this low out, pushes back up to the high, drops, and now we're squeezing. So zooming in on the 10-minute, what I see or expect is obviously this new day is going to come up and make a wick. I think it's going to come up and tap 1901 right here. I'm going to call this imbalance. I know there's like 10 different imbalances out there. This is what I'm referring to as imbalance, is that this wick right here did not come up and meet that level right here, the low of this wick. So what I'm expecting is price just to simply come up to around 1801, 1802, or sorry, 1901, 1902, and then dump into these lows right here. It's possible that we just hit this low, 1883, and then bounce. But I honestly, if we're going to send it into new highs up here, I feel like it'll pull back as much as possible and possibly even grab out these wicks right here at 1965. That's actually going to be, but we got this wick right here as well. We're going to play it safe. This is definitely the target right there. Let me put it this way, if I was a bank and I wanted to grab enough liquidity to send it up like another $80 on the chart, it would be smart to shake everyone right here, confuse everyone right here, and then actually dump and then buy up from there. Obviously, we had this level down here too. If we break 1870, I strongly believe we will hit 1843. We'll just barely swoop this out, and then we'll be on our way to 1950s. The reason I think this is a possibility, price coming all the way down here, is let's pay attention to this structure. See, pushed up, pull back, new high. We pulled back lower than that low, and then we completely exploded. This flow right here is what I'm expecting this to be. See how I'm rearranging? All right, hold on now. Okay. I don't know if something's missing here. Why am I? All right, anyway, this flow is what I'm expecting to happen on a larger scale here. We had the initial push up and then a pullback, and then we had a new high, and then it dumped below that low, and then we continued. So this right here, and I'm going to delete this. This move right here, I'm expecting this to be the same equivalent. Then we got the push up, which is this. And then we got the huge drain, which would be here, lower than this low. Then we explode up. But, you know, the war has been causing mayhem, so that might not happen. It might not reach that low. So first target is definitely going to be 1870. As long as price doesn't blast above this, I believe that'll for sure happen. Which, I mean, that's 300 pips. That's a solid trade anyway. This is a large trade. That's 550 pips. So yeah, definitely closing most of it out at 1870. Yeah, that's it for gold. I have pound yen. I'm looking at US 30. I'm just looking at, and pound to Aussie. It's a little too choppy right now, and pound yen has way better structure, so I'm not really going to be focusing on the pound yen this week. I was actually considering it taking off the watch list for the week, but I'll just keep it on. Well, let's look at pound yen at least, and then I'll just quickly touch on U30. Pound yen been expecting sells. Go to the daily for all last week actually, and what I wanted is price to hit this level of 157.3, and it did that ever so quickly on Friday, and I wasn't paying attention and I didn't have an alert. And then as you can see, it dropped all the way back down 100 pips. So going forward, I still think the sell is definitely valid, but what I see is price coming up into this area one more time, just above 157. So now the stop loss is going to be 157.4. I don't think we're going to spike this high out anymore. The only reason that we would not enter right here is if price comes in here and it just keeps exploding and closes above this area. I want to see wicks in this area, not bodies of candles. I mean, obviously, while the candle's forming, like while the 4 hour is forming, it'll be a body. But on the 10-minute, it'll be a lot of wicks and rejections. And hopefully then the 4 hour will end up closing with a wick. That's what I want to see. Just a pullback into this area and then a dump. And I'm talking about, this is TP1 and this is TP2. So 400 to 800 pips. And that is mainly because of Russia. I think the pound yen might explode from that. And looking at the daily, we can see price made the low and exploded. Then it came all the way back down to this wick right here. How non-coincidence is that, right? Spiked that wick out and then exploded, but it wasn't ready yet. It pulled back, which is a good thing because we're not in it either. So I would like to see this overall continue up into new highs. What does the weekly look like? Massive rejection, huge wicks, right? So if we can at least tap this high, that'll bring us to our first target at 400 pips. And if we break this and we reach these highs, then obviously we're going to be hitting that 800 pip mark or more if it keeps on going. But that from here to here might be multiple weeks. So the trade will likely be closed by then. Oh yeah, back to the pound yen. So on the weekly level, that would make a beautiful wick up here. You know, it is possible we snap up above this high. Now that I'm staring at the weekly, however, I'd really like to see it reject and make that lower high down here. So we'll just wait and see what happens. I would be cool with it taking it out because that's just a better entry for us. But there's a chance that won't happen just based on how it dumped Friday and the pressure coming in. But that would be a beautiful look. We got 1, 2, 3, and then it drained. 1, 2, 3, a drain. So yeah, pretty much entry at 157 area. Stop loss at 157.4. And hopefully we get that drain because right now it's really ranging. I'm going to go like this. I just want to see it tap this area once. It might not even pull all the way up here, honestly, with the body of the candle. It might wick like this. You can see how it just snapped up and came back down. That is a lot of sell pressure, and it's right above this high too, which is just a beautiful liquidity grab. So yeah, definitely looking to see a lower high here and take that sell entry for 400 pips. And then U30, I'm just going to touch on real quick because I'm not paying attention to it as much. First, look at that weekly. I have not looked at the weekly. This looks crazy. It might actually tank. So I'm just gathering this info. I haven't looked at the weekly yet. That is super bearish. I mean, look at all this buy liquidity and the fact that it's draining all the way back down here. Well, that doesn't change the analysis. This is what I'm looking at here. Wait. Where did I first have it? Okay, yeah. So a couple weeks ago, I had this low marked, and price was right here. This was the Sunday opening candle price. So price was up here. I had this low marked and this low. Okay, this was not marked yet. And I wanted to buy right here. And I was more or less just studying how it worked and watched that buy happen. Came down. This is the second area where I was looking for a buy. But with this sell pressure, honestly, I am in no rush. I'm probably not even going to enter the trade. I'm just kind of monitoring it, watching and learning it. But there is this low right here that I feel like it might spike to. See on the 1 hour, you can see that massive wick right there. Or even lower, honestly, this low right here. You guys might not be able to see that. Let me zoom in. The low of this wick right here is what I'm marking up. So I'm not really focusing on this whatsoever. I'm just marking it up and watching and taking notes. So I would like to see, I'm actually going to, let's see, 33.28. I'm going to change that to a key level. I would like to see the reaction as price hits these lows. Honestly, it's already here, so I'm deleting that. As it hits these areas, what would be brilliant is if it spiked out this low. Honestly, as you can see, I didn't really analyze this pair until right now. Everything is changing because it's a brand new analysis. That would be beautiful if it comes, like, even if it just went right below this to like 33,000 and just pulled back. I'm not talking about like a massive explosion, but even if it just pulled back to like 34.5, I mean, that would be 1,500 pips. And that could literally take like 2 days. It could take one. I mean, if we look at these candles, so we'll see. I mean, it's already all the way up here right now, so maybe we can catch the sell down there. Let's go to the 4 hour. What do we see? I see these highs right here where it really dumped. If you look right here, last time it pulled back and dumped, it wicked all the way back up here, but not to the wick. See how it went right here, but it didn't go to the wick. So I'm going to mark 34.4. So that is 100 pip range. That's pretty good. So I might actually pay attention to this a little bit more this week. I think it's possible that if we come up in here and reject, we could see further downside movement. So that'll be interesting. I mean, how many pips is that though? That's 1,400 down there and then 1,400 back. We'll see what happens. I don't want to enter buy unless we snap this wick out. So there's no way I'm entering this unless it's down here for the buy. Sorry, let me rephrase that. For the buy. For the sell, yes, right up in here. Let's see what happens. That's just crazy. That is that wick? So in 2 hours, it moved 400 pips. In 1 hour, right here, it moved 400 pips. 400 pips. US 30 is crazy. I mean, you could even catch a buy up here for 500 pips and then sell it for 1,400. And I'm not going to do that, but that's just crazy how it can move like that. I mean, you're getting hundreds and hundreds of pips within 1 hour. It's probably always at 8 too. Oh, that one's at 10. All right, maybe it's not always at 8. Well, I don't want to get too far into that because I don't really have a lot of experience with U30, but I'm definitely interested in selling if it comes up here. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Gold. One more thing real quick, and then I'm done. The open on gold might be crazy just because of Ukraine. So I actually have a short position. I entered probably right at 1900. I would have to look at my phone, but I entered yeah, it was right here. I had this high marked, what I was explaining earlier. I had this high marked, and when it exploded up and then it dumped right here, I took the entry right there. But honestly, on market open, it could gap up like crazy. But I'm sticking to 1901 sells into 1870. 300 pips to start the week off. Honestly, and it could be really quick. Because if gold wants to go up, if gold is, let me rephrase that. If gold is going to climb up this week, what it could do is right off the bat, just have a crazy move down and right back up. And then it will slowly push up just to grab the liquidity. Kind of like this was a news release, but I'm just showing you an example of how it pushed down to go up. Or even here, this is another brilliant example. When we entered 2 weeks ago, we entered right here. This was NFP, but this was the day before. And you can see it was right here, and it just snapped down to go up. And how many pips is this? 150, and this is 200, which would be cool with me too. Even right here, it happens all the time. I remember this buy too. This snap down 100 pips so it goes up. Right here. Oh, this is actually. Oh no, we bought both of them. That's why I recognize both. Snap down, but you get the idea. That's all I got, guys. Gold, Bitcoin, pound, yen, and maybe U30. Oops. We can still screen share, but let me